I'm Amy from Jimmy Bean's Wool, and today we're going to be doing the Tubular Cast On Worked Flat. So this is just very quickly, the Tubular Cast On is a great cast on for any edge that you want to be nice and stretchy, like top-down socks or maybe the brim of a hat or a neckline. So to start, we are going to begin with a long tail and a slip knot, just like you would if you were doing a long tail cast on. So you'll measure out the yarn kind of the same way you would, about 3 times the width of the piece you're casting on for. So make a slip knot, place it on your needle. So this slip knot counts as the first cast on stitch, and we're going to consider this a knit stitch. So the next stitch I'm going to do is going to be purl stitch in the tubular way. So you'll notice that I'm holding the yarn just like I would a long tail. So you take these 2 fingers, go in between the yarn, and then grasp the ends with your remaining 3 fingers. So just like for a long tail. So for the first purl stitch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tip of my right needle. I'm going to go behind the strand in the back, under the front strand, and then pull it all the way over. So it kind of looks almost like a knit stitch right there, or a purl stitch, sorry, with that little bump in front. So I now have both a knit stitch and a purl stitch on my needle, and now we're going to start the repeating action. So to do a knit stitch, I'll start in front, so I'll kind of do the opposite of what I just did. So go underneath the front strand, over the back one, and just kind of feed that strand over. And then again, that kind of looks like a knit stitch there. So I'll do another purl, behind, in front, and under. So currently I've got knit, purl, knit, purl. So I'm just going to do that a few more times to get a few more stitches on my needle. So next I need a knit stitch, boom, boom, and a purl stitch. I'll do one more of each, knit, purl. And so I now have 8 stitches cast onto my needle, and it's important to kind of keep tension on both the tail and the working end of the yarn, just because otherwise you're going to sort of lose that last stitch. So one other thing I like to do when I'm doing a tubular cast on worked flat is I like to take the tail and kind of wrap it one additional time around the working yarn to kind of further secure that stitch. So I'll take this hand and kind of hold onto the tail to keep it in place, and then turn things around. So what we're going to do now are 2 kind of setup rows. So since this was a purl stitch on the other side, that means it's going to be a knit stitch on this side. And the first thing we'll notice is that the stitch is twisted. It's not oriented correctly on the needle. So every stitch that shows as a knit on this side, I'm going to knit through the back loop. So the first stitch, knit 1 through the back loop. And then every stitch that shows as a purl on this side, I'm going to slip that stitch with the yarn held in front, purlwise. So slip 1, knit 1 through the back loop, slip through the back loop, and so on till we get to the end of the row. And then that very last stitch is a purl, so I'm going to slip it with the yarn held in back. Setup row number 2, I'm going to turn. And on this side, the stitches that show as knit stitches are oriented correctly, so there's no need to knit them through the back loop. So I'm basically going to do the same thing that I did on the previous row, except knitting the knit stitches through the front loop. So knit 1, slip the purl stitch with yarn in front. Knit, slip, knit, slip. And that concludes our setup rows. And at this point, all you need to do is start knitting in your 1x1 rib. I'll do one little row here. Quick. Take a little look at this. You can see how it just kind of curves nicely around the bottom there, and it just has a nice kind of professional seamless look to it.
Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing because we have a lot more yarn reviews, tutorials, and other fiber fun like that. Happy crafting!